Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today I have Miranda Gordon on the show, and we're talking about family business. In other words, we're talking about the pros and cons of having a relationship with our families. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back. All right, Miranda, part two of this. Uh, I really enjoy the information that you put now because you have me thinking. So you said we kind of left off on your comment about it's important to attend family events and stuff like that, which I totally agree with. But I'm curious to know your opinion on what if there's a lot of toxic, well, if the family is toxic, drama filled, and just, you know, and you're trying to protect your peace. It's like every time you go, there's a lot of drama. It's just nothing peaceful is about going to these particular events. What would you do, or how would you handle a situation like that if you were trying to really protect your peace and your mental health?
Yeah, I do have a hard time with the word toxic. I have a
Yeah,
hard time with it because um especially when people will categorize a whole person as just being a toxic person,
yeah,
because I do toxic things.
yeah,
Everyone does toxic things and we all have
right,
toxic behaviors. And
yeah,
so but there are also times when I'm not toxic and I'm
yeah,
actually really healthy. And so just um that tells me that you either don't know the whole person or you're not giving them a whole person. You're not looking at them as a whole person necessarily because you're just seeing one facet of what of
okay,
their behavior and who they are. Um, I think it just comes down to honestly, if it's if it's something you can deal with or if it's not,
yeah,
just kind
yeah,
of like what. And I think your mental health is so important. So if it really is just like if it affects you so deeply and you're involved in the toxicity, in the toxic behaviors and just the repeating generational,
yeah,
curses and what have
yes,
you is going whatever's going on, if you're so embedded in that
yeah,
and you don't see any getting out,
yeah,
um, then I do think that the best move is for you to remove yourself and just,
yeah,
grow on your own and see what you can do. And that's when found families become really important. You find people
mhm, yes,
who can really care about you and
mhm,
show up for you in the way that you need.
yeah,
Um, there was a time I was in a mentorship for a while when I was in West Virginia, and she wasn't a therapist. It was just a mentor at my church at the time. But we were doing a lot of work together, and it was really beautiful. And I think I really benefited from it, even though she wasn't a therapist. Um, and the whole goal was that I would work on my own healing,
yeah,
and that I could so that and it was mostly about my parents and just my
yeah,
relationship with them. And what would happen was that they didn't have to change.
yeah,
It did not require them to change or to heal. What happened was that I dealt with my own healing and my own emotions and feelings about it, and that I could go back into the same situation and not be affected as much. It didn't What they said didn't hurt me.
yeah,
Now, um, the hard part about it is that there are some things that are really, really hurtful,
right,
abuse, and there are things that are situations that no matter how healed you are, you shouldn't be in that.
yeah,
You shouldn't allow someone to keep hitting you.
yeah,
Um, and so you should remove yourself. But in my situation, it is okay, I think, when I've worked on different healing in
yeah,
different parts of my life to be able to go back into the same circumstances with the same people and
mm,
and for it to be okay and for it to not hurt so much.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think it just depends on what it is and the severity level. I think there's different severity levels.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so how did because you said you was raised as a Christian and stuff. How has that shaped you as a young woman, and also how did it shape you to know when to extend grace and know when to pray and really go and get assistance from your belief, so to speak.
Yeah. The faith I grew up in has shaped so much of who I am.
Yeah,
I would say it's almost foundational and just creating who I am today.
yeah,
Um, and I think also a lot of my justice that I really care about, the thing of people doing right and people getting right done by them is really founded in my faith.
yeah,
Um, because that's what, especially like in, Christianity specifically, which is how I was raised, it's a lot of here's the little guy, here's the big guy,
right,
the big guy beat the little guy and that, but we care about the underdog, we care about the underdog being taken care of and surviving. Um, and so I definitely think that and that put me in the work I am today, working
yeah,
with homeless services and housing and that, you know, I believe that what I'm doing is founded in
yeah,
the teachings of Jesus that I was raised on,
yeah,
which is what and I see that happening every day. And as far as like extending grace, I think there's just the way that my faith journey has been a little bit different in the last like 5 years, I would say. But in my adult years, I've worked very hard to try to like intertwine what I believe that like God and Jesus would believe is right within like
yeah,
my own conscious.
yeah,
My intuition would be in tune with what I believe Jesus would think is right. And so I believe that a lot of that, with that being intertwined, that I'm led by God and also my own intuition to know like which path to take and when to extend grace for those that need it, and maybe when to draw a boundary and say, actually, I'm not going to participate in this anymore, or I think
yeah,
there needs to be a line drawn.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
what difficult family patterns are you working on or have you worked on to change in your life?
Oh, difficult family patterns. There's so many.
Yeah, I know. Me and mine
Oh,
too.
yeah. I think a big thing is guilt is a big one.
Okay.
Using guilt in my family, and I still use it. I remember when I went to college for 1 year, I remember there was a girl who lived in my dorm, and she wasn't going to. We had to go to these like introductional meetings for everyone with with the school staff, and her being like, "No, I'm not going to go. We're going to go to a coffee shop or do something else." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
The part of me that wants to follow all the rules is like, "You can't skip this. We have to go."
yeah,
Um, and I even tried to guilt her a little bit, and
yeah.
and she responded with, "In my family, we don't guilt each other into doing things," and that really caught me off guard.
That's
And that was
wow.
probably something that sparked. Um, at the time, I didn't know, but looking back, I'm like, that definitely is something that sparked. Like, oh, this doesn't have to be the way that it is. We don't have to
Yeah,
guilt each other into doing what we want them to do. We don't have to
yeah,
manipulate.
yeah. Wow.
And that was definitely that was the start of it for sure, and it's something I still have a long way to go on. I still
Yeah,
struggle with guilt
yeah.
in a lot of ways, guilt and just manipulation in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a huge thing in families, in my family
Hmm.
too. But sometimes I get to the point, honestly, Miranda, I've been through so much in life, been through so much with family and friends, and sometimes I get to the point where, if I have to, like, I'll give you an example. So this same event that my brother didn't want to go to, I didn't want to go to either. I did not go to the event. I'm gonna try to explain
Hmm.
this very well. I did not go to that particular event but I went out of town with my brother to support him because
Mhm.
he ultimately felt led to go. I felt like he was manipulated to go. Okay. But I did go out of town with him, but I did not go to that event because I did not believe in that type of situation, just to be quite
Mhm.
frank with you. And
Mhm.
I thought about it and I thought about it and I prayed about it. And I'm like, well, Lord, no, I'm an adult. Like, why? And I just got to the point where like I'm gonna go down and support my brother, but I'm not going to this event because I can't do it. And so I had peace about that,
Mhm.
100% peace. And then a family member um texted me and said all type of mean things and said
Mhm.
disrespectful things. I'm not welcome back at their house, blah, blah, blah. All because I made the choice not to come to this one event. And so I didn't respond. They text me back a little later, more vulgar, mean things.
Mhm.
Then 2 days later, they text my brother talking crazy about me, all because I made the choice not to come to this event. So I was okay with that. I never responded. My brother didn't respond, but there was a lot of control and the manipulation attached with this situation. And it has been previously in previous situations where guilt tripping to doing things and coming places. And if we don't do it, then it's, they're angry and saying mean and nasty things and da da da. And I just got to the point like, look, why do I have to be subject to this crazy stuff? When we go over
Mhm.
there, it's a lot of physical fighting, verbal aggression, and I don't want to be subject to that stuff. And I told my
Yeah.
brother, you can go, I'll support you, that's fine. But I'm not, I can't do it no more. It was weighing on me mentally. And I shouldn't have to be controlled or manipulated or isolated or targeted because I
Mhm.
made a choice not to go to something that I personally don't believe in.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just me. You guys believe in this, y'all can go. Okay, that's fine. That's like some people don't drink alcohol, right?
Mhm.
Some people do drink alcohol. And some people might say, well, you know what? If there's alcohol at this party, hey, I don't want to go there, blah, 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 blah. That's their choice. You don't have to like nail them to the cross or say all these
Mhm.
nasty things because that's something that they don't do, they're not comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of dynamics within that, but that comes with what I really appreciate about my family. So a pro that I do like about my family dynamic is that there is some I don't want to say like super open communication, but especially with some of our individual relationships, me and my mom, me and my sister, me and my nana,
yeah.
me and my individual cousins, there is some like open conversation. My cousin graduated from nursing school this last year, and I um had some kind of anxiety and just some other feelings about seeing her other's family and just some other kind of off-putting experiences. And I was like, hey, I texted her. I was like, hey, I really just can't make it today. I'm not feeling well. Can we grab dinner sometime and celebrate another time, you and I?
Wow.
You know?
Nice.
And she was so graceful and just compassionate with me. And she was like, totally
Right.
understand, take care of yourself,
Love it.
and we'll celebrate another time.
Love it.
Um, and so, there's just like there are ways around it. There isn't always just like if you don't show up, you don't love me.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just having that like communication with family, I think can be really helpful. But not everyone needs to know your why or
Yeah.
what your holdups are and your own convictions.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So how do you handle disagreement with family members, Miranda? Like being, you know, where you are in life. Like how do you handle that when y'all disagree?
Well, it depends on a lot of things. It depends in different situations and who it is. Is this family member like really close to me or not?
Okay.
Um, Usually if a family member isn't very close, then it usually doesn't hit very hard or isn't really close to my own foundation or values, my home values. And so then that doesn't really matter as much, and I will handle that, as loosely as I can. But when it comes to close family members who are, where things can really hit close to home and be really intentional and just even harmful, I would say. Um, I am a big conversationalist.
Mhm.
I want to talk it all through. If there's a
That's
problem that
good.
pops up in a singular conversation, I want to solve it
Yeah,
and find a resolution right here, right now. I don't want to
that's
hang
good.
up. We don't walk away
Mhm.
from the table until we're done.
Yeah,
I have learned that not everyone likes that or responds well to that.
yeah,
um, and so I've had to give some people time. I'm
yeah,
actually kind of in a funny situation with my older sister now,
yeah,
where there have been a series of behaviors over multiple years
yeah,
of things that just indicate not great character
yeah,
to me. And so there's been some space and
yeah,
just, a couple years of no conversation and no talking, and that's hard sometimes. Um, and my younger sister always wants to push for me and my older sister to talk again.
yeah.
And she's always like, just talk, just reach out. And she's like, well, she's asked, why don't you? Why haven't you fixed things with our older
Mhm.
sister yet? And I'm like, well, she lives in another state. I don't see her at holidays. I don't see her at the grocery store. She's not
Right.
physically around or close in a way that would make it worth it, in my opinion, to fix
Yeah,
things, that she's not shown up in my life a ton. Um, and then on the other hand of that, also, like, I am a good long distance person.
yeah,
Um, my younger sister and I are long distance. She lives in Minnesota. I live in California. We FaceTime, we text,
yeah,
we read the same books. She tells me to watch Game of Thrones, and then I do, and then we talk about it. We
yeah.
have lots of different ways to connect, and my older sister just isn't like that. She's not very good long distance.
Okay.
So it's not like even if we were to fix things and have a healthy, good relationship, that it would really benefit anything, because we just never talked, never visited, never did anything.
Yeah,
Um, And so in those kind of scenarios, in the beginning, I'll try to have some conversations and talk about it and air our grievances and try to come with a solution. And if no solution comes, then eventually silence is what comes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're very mature for your age. Just
Thank
listen at
you.
you. You really are. And by the way, you look younger than 31 to me. So I didn't think you was 31. You do.
Yeah.
But you're very, very, very mature for your age. That was a very good answer.
Thank
Um,
you.
what unique strengths do you bring to your family's relationships and to your friendships? What unique strengths do you bring to the table?
Oh, unique strengths. I I think this is kind of a trauma response, honestly, but I've always found it to be beneficial in some ways, and I've grown with it in different ways too,
Mhm.
which is that I really like balance.
Okay.
So if I'm in a room full of, if I'm in a group full of people who are talking all the time and want to make a lot of decisions and do, make plans and do all these things, then I'll be quiet and I'll go with the flow and I'll
Mhm.
just follow the crowd. If I'm in a group of people that don't want to make decisions or don't want to do anything and aren't really taking initiative, then I will take initiative. I'll make all the
Mhm.
choices. I'll make the
Yeah.
plans.
Mhm.
And so, like with different people, this has turned out different ways. And so, like with a lot of my friends, I will be, confrontational, which is
Mhm.
not like necessarily natural for me or my favorite thing, but I will
Mhm.
be if they're not.
Yeah.
If they won't bring it up, I'll talk about it. And if,
Mhm.
but then also I can let things slide if it's okay. If there's too much confrontation, then I'll also just like let things go. I can be
Yeah.
more forgiving and graceful in that way. Um, but so there's definitely that. And I also have some friends who are super serious, and I
Mhm.
bring a lot of joy. I like to one of my best friends has always described me as sunshine, which makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And so I like to bring joy where I can, and just remember that laughing is good and laughter is good for the soul. And
Yeah.
just when the world gets too heavy, which it is really often these days, um, it's okay to laugh, to have a good time, for someone to crack a joke
Yeah.
and to laugh together and to laugh at something stupid, and or
Yeah.
just something fun. And and having a good time is definitely something I like to remind people that it's good to have, that we don't have to be so serious, especially in
Yeah.
our work, and that can be so serious. And
Yes.
um yeah, so just yeah, so I just like to have some balance, and then also bring joy wherever I can. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um, how has your perception of your family changed as you got older?
Well, I want to say that it's changed in how, in their humanity, honestly, in their
Okay.
humanness. That my parents aren't Superman and Wonder Woman, you know.
Yeah.
They're not these perfect beings that are just going to save the world, but they're real humans who make mistakes. And as a Capricorn and an oldest daughter, I do still have very high standards for everyone in my life, and especially
Hmm.
my parents. So I do hold them to a pretty high standard still, but I do still see that there's humanness in them, and in
Right.
them and in my siblings, and in everyone who's here. Even like my granddad is this great patriarch of our family. He's the oldest person who's still alive, I believe, today in our in for quite extended family members.
Right.
Um, and and he is a sturdy oak tree, let me tell you.
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
but he's still human, and he doesn't always handle things perfectly or super great, but that doesn't take away from his goodness, or
Yeah.
the goodness he's produced in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, um, how do you maintain family bonds with establishing your own independence?
I think connection is everything.
Okay.
Connection is really important to me, and that's um and because I think that people often forget in this society we have, where we're obsessed with, like, even romantic relationships. I think initially, I think you're supposed to grow up and get married and have
Yeah.
kids, and that's just what everyone is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that relationships are not just romantic relationships. There's really, everything is a relationship. Your family, your friends, your coworkers,
Yes.
the person you walk by on the street every day when you take your
Yes.
walk. They're all relationships, and so they're all opportunities for connection. And so,
Yes.
um, when I do something to, when I do have different ways to be independent from my family, and to step away and to do my own thing, and to really step into who I am. Um,
Yeah.
I just find the thing that connects us.
Yeah.
Um, my granddad and I, funny enough, have very similar political beliefs, so we do talk about politics.
Oh, nice.
um, yeah, and then like my with my mom, we'll sit and we'll watch Friends. Her favorite show is Friends, and so I'll
Yeah.
sit down and I'll watch with her, and we'll talk about, or I'll tell her about my day at work or whatever. And so
Yeah.
that's like our connection. Um, I'll sit and watch her show, and we'll talk a little bit about our days.
I
Um,
like that.
my stepdad loves
Yeah.
to cook. So I've been getting into sourdough, and
Yeah.
so I'll ask him different tips and tricks and ideas that he has, and so we really bond over food and meals and baking. So you just got to find the thing that connects you, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I Because I felt as a child very misunderstood and very black sheepish,
Yeah.
I really care about knowing people. And so
Yeah.
I've in my years grown to see people for who they are and figure out how to see that.
Yeah.
And so with that, that makes it easier for me to connect with people, is that I find the thing that they care about, and what in me is also in them, and then draw that line.
Yeah. Why do you felt misunderstood and like the black sheep of the family? Because I definitely can relate to that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I have these weird memories of, not weird, but just these very explicit or specific memories of me being really upset about something. And as an adult looking back, it might have been something stupid, but
Yeah.
I remember my parents laughing at me, really crying, like really crying. And And that really is like that's one thing that really like drew a line between us where I'm like, you don't, this is important to me and you're not.
Right.
Like it's not important to you.
Right.
And so I'm not, as a child, I'm like, it doesn't matter about the thing. The thing itself doesn't matter. What matters is it sounds like you don't care about me. Um, and so there's just been too many instances of things like that. Um, where I just, uh, I was a very emotional kid, very sensitive. Still, I'm a sensitive person.
Yeah.
Always have been, always will be. And there were just different parts of my personality and different parts of my character that I just never felt were understood by my family. I would try to talk to my parents about different things and try to express, and try to connect. My goal was always to connect, but sometimes it just didn't stick. And so that just led to more isolation in myself and being like, okay, they want the parts of me that they understand. They want the parts of me that plays softball because both my parents
Yeah.
played sports and the one that did played the cello for 10 years because my dad really liked musicals and musical
Yeah.
instruments, and so um they liked the parts of themselves they could see in me, but the parts that they didn't understand. um I've always been like a really really deep spiritual person,
Hmm.
just really things that were really just like deep and emotional, and just the way that I saw the world was just very different. And so and I think my parents just come from a generation where things were just, you survive, you do what it takes to survive,
Right.
and we don't really think about art or processing too much.
Yeah.
um and so, well, I wanted to work through all my processes, and so I've always
Right.
needed people to do that with. And so when it couldn't be my parents, I found someone else. I found
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and I are a lot alike in that way. I'm one that I like to address problems, like to deal with things. I don't like I don't like sweeping things under the rug. 'Cause I've learned that that stuff
Mhm.
comes back and sometimes comes back worser. So
Mhm.
I'm one I love to talk. I remember many years ago, I tried to have a conversation with my mom. She was not trying to hear it. And I wanted to talk about some issues that was still present between her and I. This was many years ago. And she just didn't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
And so I learned that, I have to give people time. And that could means that she may not never want to talk about it. But
Mhm.
it made me feel good that I was at least ready to have the conversation. But like you, a lot for me at least, and like you, I like talking about my emotions. I like talking about things. I like and even when I find myself talking to some people about a situation that I may have between them and I, a lot of times it makes them feel uncomfortable. And I can
Mhm.
tell when somebody is agreeing with me or just telling me what I want to hear, opposed to taking this conversation very seriously because it means something to me, you know.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
important. Um, how do cultural expectations influence your family relationships?
Well, um, one thing I can always see is my granddad for sure has always been someone who is like, you forgive family no matter what because they're your
Yes.
family. You're stuck together forever, and you don't allow one fight or one disagreement to tear you apart.
Yeah.
I think that had to do personally with something that happened to him
Yeah.
years and years ago, with just a brother cutting him off because of some
Yeah.
family drama. But and I understand it from that perspective of loss in the family, of not wanting to lose your family over, just a fight or what have you. I think every person has the right to draw their own boundaries on what's important to them, though, what's worth cutting off family members for or not.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely see that in that I am always, especially of my parents, always forgiving, will always show back up for them no matter what,
Good.
no matter what, no matter how. So I've definitely seen that definitely impact. And especially because the way I've been growing up in the last like 10, 10, 15 years, I see lots of people who've cut off their parents.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what's happening around me, but I'm not, participating in that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely see that happening. But
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah.
So I think we have like a couple more minutes. So for an individual, because like you're very artistic, extremely artistic, talented in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, thank you.
So with people who might have those abilities or skill set and maybe misunderstood, because I think people with those type of ability that they express themselves in different ways, and it may be differently than what the norm may, you know,
Mhm.
do. What advice would you give them?
The advice
Yeah,
I would give them would be to go through it all.
yeah,
To the only way out is through,
yeah,
and to keep going, in the words of I believe it was Eminem who said, "If you're walking through hell, keep walking."
yeah,
Um, and use it, everything can be art, especially emotions. That's what it's there for. A lot of very well-renowned artists, Taylor Swift, use their
yeah,
pain and use their experience, and they use art as a expression of that, of a process, a way to get through it.
yeah,
I know some artists that take more time in between their production of their art um, because it's so deeply ingrained
yeah,
to what they're going through. And
yeah,
so, and the artists that's more true to what they're experiencing and their experience, and what they've gone through, and just true to their reality and what their truth is,
yeah,
that's the art that's the most beautiful. And
yeah,
so, um, yeah, feel it all, and then put it into expressing however you can, whatever outlook, um, is best for you and whatever you like to do.
yeah. And I had you to respond that way because, like you, I'm the black sheep of the family. And being a
Mhm,
black sheep of the family can mean being a black sheep of the family for different reasons, you
mhm,
know. And sometimes people don't necessarily receive the love and support, and they feel isolated,
mhm,
and they just don't know how. They think something wrong with them. Then they started experiencing like anxiety, depression, suicidal
mhm.
ideation. And so it's important that whoever these people are, that they know that they can get through it because they're made
Yeah,
unique and wonderfully um
mhm,
for a reason. They're made that way for a
yeah,
reason. So, okay,
yeah, yeah. I think everyone has something that the world needs, and that if you just share what you have, there's a place for it.
exactly.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Miranda. I really, 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 really enjoyed this interview with you, and I've learned a lot about you. So, yay for that.
Yeah, thank you
And
for having me. It's been a great time.
yes, likewise. And we'll get a chance to kind of dig deep into more topics when you have the time.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. And that's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you would like a DVD copy of the show, or if you would like to be a guest on our show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.